have their own aspects, and of course, the Nigerian Federal Aviation Authority and the FAM, Federal Airport Authority, also have their own aspect, aviation security. All that is for safety reasons. Now, you get to the seat of the aircraft, and you are being asked to, sir, please, this is not acceptable. Kindly hand us over this liquid or these flags of water. That is the regulation. That is safety. He would have just obeyed simply, and this whole thing would have been averted. But he proceeded and insisted that he was going to fly it on board. After much pressure, he insisted they pleaded with him. He wouldn't listen. And so the captain in the cockpit saw the scenario. I was called upon. The captain said, I was trying to speak with this young man. Sir, this is not allowed. You know, it was so aggressive. I feel it broke the law. At that point, he even split the water, and then he tried to even harass, assault the captain, the pilot in command. And so that way, the pilot went into the cockpit, restricted him from flying on that aircraft because he is now an AOG, is now a threat to the airline as far as the aircraft is concerned. With the attitude, is called unruly behavior. That unruly attitude is not acceptable in aviation. And so he can't go with the aircraft. They shut down the door, got permit to take off from Tower. They were cleared to taxi out for takeoff. Then he stood there trying to stop the aircraft, which is a gross violation of aviation safety regulations. So an attempt, they tried to move him out, an attempt for him, he was struggling, and the pilot has gotten clearance to move. So the pilot taxied out the aircraft, and you saw what happened on the video. The pilot tried to escape, went under the wings, and that became an issue. The moments were captured. And so he has violated aviation regulation, the standard, and he's going to, the penalty serving is due in his deserve because this is a violation of aviation safety. And then on the part of the pilot, of course we have the security personnel, like I did mention. We have the aviation security personnel from FAM, from even the NCA, who have them from the airlines themselves, have their own aviation safety personnel, have set the position there. So you would have kindly made the call, give order, and the young man will be taken away to crime. FAM will take them to crime for investigation. Not to take that action. That was also a violation of aviation safety. And which is why the pilot, the captain, and the first officer license were revoked and they are suspended depending on the conclusion of the investigation. So the investigation is ongoing and they have to face the panel to also explain what has transpired. Of course, the video footage and all that are there to also give detail of what went on. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So, Prince, for prohibited items, of course, most people who have flown, there's a list you normally see at the airport of things you cannot take aboard a flight. But let's talk about liquid, which is what has caused this problem. I know, as well as you do, that for local flights in Nigeria, even international, the in-flight refreshment, water is also involved, right? When they give you the pack, they also give you bottled water, which means the airlines themselves, they have water. And for those who fly private, we know that those in private jet, sometimes even champagne, wine is given to them inside that flight. So how come for these situations, liquid is allowed, but if I bring my own water, it's not allowed? What's the difference?
Yes. Now, the water the airline gives to you on board the flight, they are recommended. Those waters are approved by the regulation. They have met up the standard, they have been sharpened, and they serve to passengers, including the champagne and other liquids. But you cannot come with your own liquid or substance because some of those liquids, you can't ascertain what is inside of them. There could be some substance, there could be some chemical and all that. But it will impose stress to the aircraft and to the passenger. Therefore, aviation regulation says you don't come with your liquid on board the aircraft. You can't fly with it. It's international standard. not just domestic flight, both international, you are not permitted to come with your liquid. They will stop you at the seat of the aircraft, or even before you're coming in the check-in gate. Once they discover a liquid with you, the officer there will kindly ask you to drop it at the feet there. And so it's a known thing from every regular flyer that you are not permitted to take in liquid with you for several safety reasons that have been spelled out. And passengers are aware of this. That is not acceptable. It's expressly forbidden. Taking liquid, your personal liquid with you. When you get on board, if you're thirsty, of course they will give you water as much as you can. Of course they will give you champagne and whatever they have on board the aircraft you are entitled to, they are going to give to you. But the airlines are saying, or the regulation is saying, that you as an individual, you are not permitted, whether you bought first class, economic class, business class, irrespective of the class you are flying. Certain items are not acceptable, they are prohibited. And so if you must go on board that aircraft, you have to drop them at the feet of the aircraft or hand them over to a safety personnel there.
Okay.
That's the rule.
Now, Prince, could there be provisions for a clearance, right? Because right now I'm thinking of all the possibilities and eventualities. Let's say, for example, now I'm making this scenario up. I'm supposed to board a flight, maybe a 2-hour flight, or it's supposed to last for a bit. I have a liquid. I have some, I have liquid in a container. And, you guys, based on regulations, no, sir, you can't go with this. And I tell you, no, it's medicine or it's something I'm supposed to take in the next 30 minutes, in the next 1 hour. At the time, I will be aboard the flight. It's something I'm supposed to take as a routine. Is it possible for the authorities to clear that my content for my specific reason of health grounds? Are there provisions for clearance based on situation?
Okay, yes. Based on situations, the airline, before you board, if it is not acceptable by regulation, they are not going to give you a ticket. However, liquids are the means of transportation, which is the cargo flight.
Okay.
If the liquid is so important to you, then you can maybe there through cargo flights and all that to get to your destination. But if you're placed on medicals, that this liquid, you have to take it on time interval with your medical report, then that is left. When you bought that report, before you book the flight, you must study the aircraft, the airline regulations. You must know acceptable and unacceptable items. Some of them are called AOD. Some of them are called FOD and all that. So they are not acceptable.
Okay.
Did I answer your question?
Yes. Another concern that was raised, and I also had this concern, was that the drama between the Fuji musician and the pilot, the plane, and those who were with him, it lingered for too long before the plane even took off. If I'm not mistaken, a couple of minutes. And people were asking, why did the airport authority not swing to action and remove him? Because he was literally blocking the plane. So I'd like to ask you that question. What is usually the protocol for airport security to act? Because if they had removed him from there, the pilot would have not violated whatever protocol they did that led to their suspension.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Now the federal airport authorities found security personnel are not positioned at the feet of the aircraft. They have their own designated position, which before you enter the aircraft, the airport, before you get into the airside, the aerodrome, they will do their basic check, screen you into the airside. They call for boarding and you are there. They are not readily there at the feet of the aircraft, except they are called upon.
Okay.
If there is an emergency, if there is a situation, the airline will attention them. The airline security, the aspect of the airline, will quickly go to the fan, call them by radio or by phone or by means of physical contact. Look, this is the situation. They will come quickly. Yes, they will come immediately. I had a case once like that on board the flight. Only passenger refused to descend back because they claimed that the flight delayed for 2 hours. from Lagos to Abuja. Therefore, he demanded contestation and refused to disembark. What did we do? We called on the attention of aviation security personnel firm. They came, asked the question and said, look, you can take a case from this. If you want to do, you see the airline treated you unfairly, there are procedures to go about it. The man said he's not going to disembark until he's been contested right inside the aircraft. When all efforts made to disembark him put above this, of course, they will not force him out of the aircraft. They have to call the Nigerian police. Position at the airport. At the airport in Abuja station, we have the Nigerian police station there.
Okay.
They have to call the police personnel who identify themselves and told them, look, we are personnel from the Nigerian police. You follow us to the station and make your statement. Let's take it up with the airline. He refused because he felt he is connected to one source or the other. And he was calling, making calls, doing all sorts of things. At the end of the day, the police forced him out of the aircraft. And when they took him there, it became a case against him because he has violated aviation regulation. So the same thing happened. The airline rolled out without wasting time. The captain, without much ado, would have called attention to the security personnel. And that's one of the reasons their licenses have been seized and they have been suspended for investigation. Because professionally, what the first thing to do, you don't delay at all because flies with time.
Yeah.
Estimated time of arrival and all that. So that is not acceptable. They would have called the security personnel to handle the issue. It would not have been that to this point. So I think that was the mistake from the airline.